Welcome to Season 2, episode of Getting Rooted, the show that is all about the journey of being rooted, reclaiming one's own truth, and embracing destiny. I'm Janine Hansel Frimpong, your host, and I'm a licensed clinical professional counselor and trauma specialist in the state of Maryland. I'm also the founder and clinical director of Rooted Holistic Therapeutic Services. The content on this podcast is not counseling advice, nor a substitute for individual therapy. The content is for information purposes only. The information provided is not intended to be used as a replacement for medical and mental health advice. Please seek and follow the advice of your licensed mental health professional. In this podcast episode, Uncovering Limiting Belief, Unlocking Potential, limiting beliefs can hold us back from reaching our full potential. But today we'll dive into the impact of negative self-talk and self-limiting beliefs on our mental health. We'll provide strategies for identifying and challenging those beliefs and empowering ourselves to pursue our dreams and create a positive mindset for growth. I have a guest with me today, Joyce Ayers, who is a mindset coach, and will be joining us in this discussion of uncovering limiting beliefs and unlocking potential. Hi, Joyce. How are you today?
I'm great, Janine. So glad to be here, and thank you.
I'm so glad to be able to have this conversation with you around limiting beliefs, because I think it's something that really impacts a lot of people, and they don't really realize that it's impacting them to really be able to get to where they want to go, or is the hurdle that is difficult for them to overcome to get to the things that they want to accomplish. So I'm looking forward to the discussion on today. But before we get started, tell us who you are. Tell us a little bit about you and your and the things that you bring to the table.
Yeah, gladly. I feel like I bring quite a bit to the table, either through my experiences, those limiting beliefs that I've worked through, and now on the other side, so I'm empowered, and the trainings I've done, and just the deeper understanding of what's going on inside our brains and our bodies, that I've been really curious about this. Gosh, for and my children my oldest is going to be 30, and I started back then. It's like, how can I be the best parent possible? And so I started reading all the books. So probably like 30 years I've been studying and absorbing, why do we do what we do, and why aren't we doing what we want to do? So I refer to myself as a soul aligned manifestation coach, because when we're trying to create and live our lives from how we think we should be or what we want, but then we just don't know what's blocking us, is we're not in alignment with our souls and with our values. So it's so important to have that alignment with that knowing and the belief in ourselves, the belief that this is possible for me, not just I want to do it, but really believe it. So I do that by activating the body's wisdom. And this acts like a compass. It's kind of like that compass is guiding us. Our brain will say, I'm going to go this way. And then our souls, our inner body's compass says, we're going to go this way. But as we go this way, we're going to have some different routes. We're going to be traveling, not a straight path, whereas our brain kind of wants us to just go. And so when we're soul led through our body's wisdom, that compass, then we can start working and moving towards our purpose, our calling. And that's where we, go from living in the shadows, dimming our light, quieting our voice, to almost blossoming. We start there's flower that sort of starts to poke out of the ground in the spring. If you're in the north, so you got that layer of snow. That's almost like those limiting beliefs. The snow is the limiting beliefs that we have that kind of hide and snuff out our light and our growth. So when the snow starts to melt, as you know, it melts and it starts to water the soil. And now the sun can come and warm the soil, so that seed inside of us can start to sprout. Now, if we believe that we can't sprout and blossom into where we really want to go, then we'll just come along and put more snow back on, or let the weeds come in, right? The weeds of the limiting beliefs, the other people in our lives that tell us we can't do this. And in my training, we call it the crabs. The crabs keep pulling us back down into the bucket. It's like, no, you can't grow. It's like, I'm going to snuff you out, the weeds say. So it's so important that we identify what these limiting beliefs are And, a lot of us maybe that are on this program, and what I've done, for years, what I did before I got my trainings is I would read all the books. I was, wow, that's great. And now I know this about myself. Now I know this, psychology about why we do what we do. But it doesn't take care of the limiting beliefs that are stuck there. And they're really like, it's like Velcro inside. It doesn't get rid of them. We are knowledgeable about it, but it doesn't do anything about healing our soul or those wounds or changing the perspective of how we see ourselves. So there's like kind of almost three perspectives. There's the perspective that we have of ourselves. And then there's the perspective that we think others have of us. And then there's perspective of the whole, like society, the community. Okay, what is expected and what's expected or limiting of myself. So we have these three layers that they're all working all the time in our limiting beliefs.
Do you find that some of the limiting beliefs that are common that we see a lot of, and I see a lot in my practice, is fear of failure, kind of the imposter syndrome, beliefs that are rooted in their past experiences, so it causes them to react or behave in a certain way because they're basing their now decisions on old experiences?
Right. Yeah, I'd like to have two things about that. And our fear of failure, it's there's so much that's packed into that. It's like, okay, so what? We try something and we fail at. Okay, say we want to learn how to throw a ball, right? Well, we go to throw the ball, but then it goes way up, it goes way down, it doesn't go straight. And it's like, is that failure? Okay, it's like, it's information. It's like, oh, the ball went down. Maybe I should try something different. So we could keep trying and trying, but the ball keeps going down or keeps going up. So until we have somebody come along and say, guides us, or we figure it out, like we're willing to fail so many times that we finally figured out, oh, I need to let the ball go at this point in time in the trajectory. And I'm trying to think of the person, is it Thomas Edison that, I don't know, like how many thousands of tries he had? And I don't know the quote, but it's really powerful. It's almost like we try and we try, we fail, but we eventually, at one point, we stop failing, or we see it from that perspective. So as long as we see something that didn't go right, or it's not perfect, and again, in whose eyes is it perfect or not going right, it's seen as a failure. As long as we keep feeling it as a failure, then we think like, I'm not good enough. I can never do that. I don't believe in myself. Others don't believe in it. So there's so many layers underneath that fear of failure, being judged, criticized. I'm not perfect. I'll never, like all these things that are going on. And when we just, if we just had this mindset, everything I do is a learning opportunity. And this, one of the most powerful things that was ever said to me is like, mess it up, like just do it and mess it up as best you can. And then there's only going up from there. So rather than just do it and try to be perfect at it, because it's not going to be perfect. So already you've failed. But if you just go knowing it's like, I'm going to mess this up and I'm going to mess it up real bad. And it's like, I guess I wasn't really that bad.
I like, and you started off with saying like, it gives you information, right? Failing gives you information that what you may need to change the next time in order to maybe get further in the process that you want to go. And I think that's just a small portion of just recognizing like failures at the end, right? It's just the beginning of trying to get to where you want to be. And I think that is a key component that a lot of people fail to hold on to when they fail. I have clients that may, for instance, they're jumping into the dating field, and so as they're jumping into the dating field, like the first date didn't go well. Well, it's not going to go well. These are all I call them practice rounds, right? Practice rounds so that you can figure out what you like, what you don't like, right? It's not a failure like, oh my God, I chose the wrong person, right? And I think it goes back to their previous experiences of, well, I chose the wrong partner. That's why that didn't work. So I don't want to choose the wrong partner. So it keeps them in this, I got to get it right. And it's an interesting phenomenon, right? But I also, I try to push people to say, okay, this is the first step. Like, there's a whole lot of people to try out. Like, you have a whole lot of opportunities. But I think that feeling of if I strike out, it's just going to keep getting worse. Rather than if I strike out, it can get better, right? The pendulum, the pendulum only swings the negative way rather than the possibility of the positive, that it can get better after you've tried a couple of times to perfect some things or work on some things that you may need to consider. So I really like that component that you brought out in terms of really being able to understand that fear of failure and how to operate in that.
Yeah, the failure is not even trying. So already you failed. Like that's the biggest failure, is not even trying or attempting to do that next thing. One of the, like you were saying, like, okay, I'm gonna go on these dating sites. I'm gonna go out and have these dates, but it's like, oh, that was a failure, and that was a failure. It's like we have, and you're probably familiar with this RAS, the reticular activation system. It's like, okay, all these other relationships have failed. All these other dates have failed. Okay, I'm going to do another one. And already we have it in the mindset that it doesn't matter how great the person is or how wonderful you are, or even that connection. We're going to look for something that's wrong that makes it a failure. Oh, look, here's another failure. So we're almost like a beacon. Like it's like, a homing device. It's like dee 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 dee. There's like all this good. But our homing device, that RAS, will be like, it's all good. It's good. But look at that one bad thing. Look at that one bad thing. Look at it's wrong. It's like, it didn't work out. And like you said, that you were really picking up on the feedback. And in the training, the neuro-linguistic programming training that I do, the NLP, I guess everything is feedback. Everything we do, we say, especially the response that we get from other people. It's like, why are they always overreacting to me? Why is because we blame, right? It's like, why did that happen? Or, it's not like, what did I say? What might I have said? What was my energy? How might I have done it differently? What can I learn here? It's all feedback. It's like, oh, I said this and that happened, but then we didn't just end it right there in that exchange back and forth. We usually go on and on and on and on and on. And then we add in more things to go on and on and on and on. And then we bring in all the past, and then we bring in the future, and then we go on and on and on. And, on. And so there's no opportunity to get the feedback because we've just gone down like a spiraling rabbit hole. Or cyclone just takes up, creates so much power. It just sort of sucks everything else into it. And it's like those discussions we have with people that are close to us. It starts off with one thing, and before you know it, it's blowing up to all the things in life that were unresolved, incomplete. So, just take everything as feedback. And what can I learn about myself? How can I grow from this? What can I understand about the other person? And what can I understand about myself? And then those limiting beliefs can start to like, well, maybe I have a belief that no one will ever love me the way I need to be loved, or I can't be loved. I can never be loved. I'm not worthy of love, in the relationship, or I can't have success. I'll never be successful with other people. So listening to that feedback of the dialogue we're having, either about ourselves or about other people. And there's a book, The Four Agreements by, I just blanked on it. The Four Agreements. Do you know that book?
Yeah, I know the book. I can't remember the author.
I just blanked on it. It's like, it was one of the first books that I was given on my coaching journey. And one of the agreements is to be impeccable with your word. And this is all about not putting ourselves down and criticizing ourselves and criticizing other people. It's like, just have compassion for ourselves when we fail, like, we'll call it failing in quotes, because again, it's not failing, it's just feedback. But if we beat ourselves up about it and we make ourselves wrong, then we're not honoring who we are. We're not learning. We're not honoring our growth. And that limits us. It keeps limiting our potential, but also it reinforces the limiting beliefs about ourselves that are conscious or unconscious. And most of them are unconscious. We're not even aware of them. Like, they're programmed into us. Again, we hear something and then we adopt it for ourselves. And this is like when we're young, like, what is it? You probably know, between the ages of 0 and 7 is where we're just taking everything in as fact. This is how life is, because this is what I see around me. So this is how I navigate life. This is how people are responding to me. So this means this about me. And we're forming all of these things without any filters because we're just taking it in, because we're just absorbing life and experiences. And then we take all of that information that is embedded in our neurology, in our emotions, all those emotions, and then we take it and we live out that belief our entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And then we, again, going back to the RAS, the reticular activation system, it's like we look, this is evidence. This is proof that what I believe to be true about myself or other people is right. Look, there it is again. And we don't see another possibility.
And a lot of time I tell my client, we talked about ladder of inference, right? So you create this ladder of inference where you go back to a belief system that you may have. As you go through life, that belief system increase because the rungs of the ladder gets bigger and bigger, higher and higher. And it takes full opposite of that for you to even take off one rug. So like one step in the ladder. So it's really interesting how our brain absorbs information, absorbs facts or experiences, and we make it gospel. We say, this is what it is. This is exactly what it is. And there's no changing it until you have those experiences that goes against that. Right. So I think a lot of times, as I call it, writing your narrative, right? You're basing your narrative, you're creating a story based on these experiences, whether true or not, right? They're still what you are basing your life on. And you have to decide, am I going to continue to hold this belief, or am I going to really work hard to change this belief, right? Change, like, for instance, I grew up in New York and New Jersey, and that's all I knew, and that's all I loved. And I moved from New York and New Jersey when I was 14, that area, moved to Maryland, and I hated it. Like, I really was like, what is this? Like, it's ridiculous. That's all I knew for 14 years. Like, I knew city life, like I knew the bustle and hustle. And the part of Maryland that I moved to, at first, it was a little scary. I was like, this is a totally different experience, right? But my ladder of inference is New York and New Jersey life. That's what I knew. Like going on the train, the subways. Yeah, Maryland had trains, but it was very different. Like, just the culture was very different. People said I talked too fast. Like, I was just criticized. I'm like, this must not be, we're in a foreign land. I don't know what this is. And so it took a while. And for a long time, we used to drive back to New Jersey to buy things. Why? Because this place was not, quote unquote, a safe place. This place was not something that I can recognize, right? And all I know is that place was great. That place was the best place ever. But that's because that's all I knew. And a lot of times we get stuck in that mindset. This is all I know. And we will go above and beyond to keep things comfortable and safe in our belief system. And it took me, I was 14. So it took me at least, I would say 7 years to be like, oh, it's not too bad. And by that time, I'm an adult, right? I'm like, Maryland's not too bad. I can live here. I moved out of Maryland, moved to West Virginia, came back, and I decided I wanted to be in Maryland. Why? Because I began to see that there was a ability to make this feel comfortable, make this feel safe. So I didn't have to keep running back and forth. And I was like, oh, I don't even want to go to New Jersey. I don't even want to live in New Jersey anymore. Why? Because I've matured, right? And changing. And so that's a small example, right? It's nothing life shattering. But when I think about it, it's kind of like there was a whole shifting in my mentality based on my now experiences rather than staying in my childhood experiences. Now I was able to experience life through a lens of an adult. Like, this is okay. This is doable. Or I can stay miserable and be like, I just want to keep going to New Jersey. So it's, really recognizing like we can stay miserable. I always say we can stay stuck, or we can kind of challenge ourselves, not comfortable, but challenge ourselves to see there's other options. There's other avenues to get to where we want to be or achieve the things that we want to achieve in itself. So,
we said it like we almost set a limit for our perspective. It's like you move from one city to another, and I did somewhat of a cultural move, and it was like, where did I just land? Right? Mm-hmm. It's like, wow, like people say and do these things, and so foreign to me. And then I would always I would always refer to life, like I lived where I moved to, but my home was where I moved from. And for years, I was like, oh, you like home. It's home. It's like, well, don't you live here now? Yeah, well, I'm going back home to visit. And it's like, well, isn't your home here and your family's there? It's like, again, that perspective. And we're so anchored. It's like embedded in us, and we get anchored to the feeling of what's familiar, like you said, what we're comfortable with. Like, this is how we do things. We talk fast. Things are hustle and bustle, and you go to a place that's slower, and people like are not in a hurry. And it's like, what's wrong with you people? Like, aren't you motivated to do it? And they're like, what's your hurry? It's like, and I again, like that, when I moved, not different areas, but I would go back home after being away for a long time. And we would drive, and at one point, just driving along through the country, and all of a sudden it's like people were passing me, and I'm like, what's going on? Did the speed limit change? And no, but we had entered into a more of a city zone, and people were going like 20 miles faster. It was that much of a difference. And I'm like, wow, I used to like be in this rat race and the energy of it. And slowly anchoring into a new way of being more slowing down and appreciating life or the moment or the interactions. And then we can actually see where we were before. And it's like, well, which one do I really prefer? But being in it, it's so familiar. It's just like, this is good. Like, we don't, and I'm thinking actually health. When someone is not feeling well for most of their life, like, they got, I don't know, something going on, they don't have the right diet, say, just to keep it a little more simple. Like, my daughter had a gluten intolerance, and we didn't know that. And so she would just always have headaches. And, we go to the doctors, oh, how are you feeling? Sometimes I have a headache, and I'm looking at her like, you have a headache? She says, well, how often do you have a headache? Well, just all the time. And so year after year after year, I always have these headaches. And I thought, they still haven't gone away. And so we'd ask the doctor. And so she just like, that's just life, right? Eventually she started vomiting at night. And it's like, there was no reason for her to be vomiting at night. And I'm like, okay, something's seriously wrong here. And so she was in her last year of high school. She did a little semester away. The family she went to live with had a child, not a child, but their like teen daughter had celiac. And so the whole house was gluten-free, like no cross-contamination, nothing. And so she was there for 3 months. And then she noticed her health changing. And she didn't know what healthy was. She thought she was healthy. It's like, yeah, I'll keep eating my sandwiches. I'll keep it. I'm not going to change my diet. Yeah, I throw up now and again, I have headaches all the time. I've always had headaches. So what's the big deal? But when the headaches went away, her stomach started to settle, her digestive system started to work, all these things. She's like it was a life change for her. And so and we're just so anchored to what's familiar, like you said, in the limiting beliefs are familiar. And it's the other thing that we want that is unfamiliar that makes us uncomfortable.
Yes.
It's like, no, it's like we limit our ability, our capability, our potential, because it's like, I've never gone, higher than this. I've never extended myself beyond this limit. So as soon as I get up there, then I touch it and then I go back down. And then I'm like, okay, I might come back up to it and I might go down. So unless we get rid of this limiting belief, we can either get rid of it through a process, or we can raise it up just a tiny little bit, just a little outside that comfort zone where, it's not too much of a stretch. And then that becomes your new limit. And then you get comfortable there for a while. Then you raise it up just a tiny bit more. That's kind of a longer way to go. But when you start reframing things and being conscious of them, and you heal the beliefs that were hurt, it's like whatever it is, like growing up, I'm trying to think of something. It's like, so-and-so has these really cool pair of shoes. I'd really like them because they're really cool. Well, who do you think we are? We're not made of money. Like, do you think you really deserve all the latest and greatest? So all of these messages that are like, oh, I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I don't deserve. So we go around thinking we don't deserve things, and then we give everything away. So when we change that belief, we change the belief by having a little conversation with ourselves and this is how I guide my clients. We kind of like, well, how did you want to be spoken to? What would have felt better? And all of these things. And then it starts to change the emotion that we attached to the event. Bessel van der Kolk, I don't know if you know him, The Body Keeps the Score. The experience we have, like we take it in through all of our senses, we attach an emotion with it and a meaning, and then we just it just gets lodged in ourselves forever and ever. And until we go back to that time and heal that event, because we took it in through our own eyes and our own perception of how we think we are or who we were told we were. And then when we change that belief and the emotion around it, then this limit can start to go up higher. It's like all of a sudden it just got this giant boop, this giant bump.
Do you see where sometimes the negative self-talk that we have really, it's hard for some of the clients that you deal with, is it hard for them to unravel? Because what I see a lot of time is the negative self-talk is what drives the anxiety, is what drives the depression, right? It's what drives their everyday life, their decision-making, and really trying to counteract that with positive self-talk. A lot of my clients say, I tried it didn't work. It didn't work. I tried the positive self-talk and I just can't do it. And so what have you seen, and what are the things that you do with your coaching clients that counteracts that negative self-talk?
Yeah, there's the clients that really want to overcome it. They want to get on the other side of like seeing things positively about themselves and their lives. And then there's the clients like, well, look, I tried it. It didn't work. And the ones that try is really not, it's like, okay, I thought about it. I tried. I thought about it. It didn't work, right? So maybe they're not willing to do the practice. And there's like what we call a secondary gain. It's like there's some benefit, something that we're gaining, that we're benefiting from holding on to this negative belief about ourselves. Maybe we get attention. Maybe we get to be the victim. Maybe like, there's all of these possibilities for holding on to this belief, because if we let them go, if we didn't believe we were the victim anymore, and it gives us an excuse for not doing something, getting uncomfortable, failing, if we don't have that reason, it's like, oh, well, now what? Now I got to be accountable. Now I have to step it up. That's scary. That's uncomfortable. So I'd rather go with what's familiar, even though it limits me, and I talk negatively about myself. At least it's familiar and it's comfortable. I don't have what I want. I'll never have what I want. I'll always be unhappy, blah, blah, blah. But at least it's familiar. It's like, I'm going to go back to New York. Right. That's comfortable. I don't want to be in Maryland. It's like, what's this in Maryland, as we give it some opportunity? So if we just even shift, I'm thinking relationships. I've done relationship coaching for a while. Now I'm like doing more of the soul alignment manifestation coach, but it still overlaps in relationships that are really struggling. I would hear the couples saying, well, if he did this and if he just didn't do that, and it's all about him, and if he's the problem, and we find all kinds of faults with the other person. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't always like that, because that's how you came together, right? There was something that attracted you to this person, and maybe they were thoughtful, maybe they were kind and considerate and generous, and all the things that whatever it is that you loved about them because you felt good. But we started looking for all the things that were wrong. It's like, because again, that reticular activation says, look, see, he really doesn't care that much. He's really not that generous. Like he's really, like all these things. And then we start finding fault with the other person. Again, that's that negative thought pattern. So strong and anchored. It's like really anchor it in to our belief that we can't see the other person for who they are. And it's like, well, what is it that I'm beating myself up over? And what am I not giving myself credit for and having compassion for? How hard am I being? Like, if I'm being that hard on that person, well, how hard am I really being on myself that I'm not even aware of? And there's all of this inner turmoil going on. So if we start having a little more compassion for ourselves and understanding and acceptance for that feedback, like this happened. Okay, maybe I could do something different. So when we start changing the narrative, like you said, then we can, it's almost like we open the window, we open the blind, we start letting a little light in rather than all the darkness. But it's just like those little shifts. It's like, today I may think it, but I'm not going to say anything nasty about my partner. It's like, put the clothes peg on the lips, right? It's like, walk away, just walk away, anything, but don't say it. Or if you are going to say something, it's like, just look for something that you can like thank someone for. Well, there's nothing I can thank this person for. There's like absolutely nothing that they're doing for me that I could ever possibly find to be thankful for. And it's like, maybe the socks on the floor really bother you, but you see them put it in the basket. It's like, oh, okay, I found the socks. The socks went in the basket, and say something to the person. The person will probably like look at you in shock that you first of all said something nice. If you've been quite miserable with the person for a long time, they like, who are you, right? And then there's this little energy exchange that feels good. And like, oh my God, a good reaction. And, so you might try it again. So we look for, in other people, we look for something positive, as small as it can be, even in our children, right? Because, oh my gosh, this child is just a nightmare, right? Of course, the child's not a nightmare, but we always see is everything wrong with the child. Mm-hmm. And, we look for things that are positive. So we're so anchored into that negative mindset that we don't know how to get out of it. And if we look for the opportunities, or we look for ways that we can find something going well in life, even if it's just like you're by yourself, you live single, like look for something to go well in life. I got out of bed this morning with my alarm. Wow, that was a big one because I've been sleeping through like 4 or 5 sleep zones. It's like, wow, I instead of going through 5 sleep zones, I only went through 2. Okay. And then so we look for things to celebrate. And then, people keep gratitude journals. It's like, well, I don't have much to be grateful for. It's like, I'm hearing birds outside. It's like, I'm grateful that, I'm south in the US. So it's like, yeah, because in the north, you probably won't hear birds for a while.
What's the last snow outside?
The birds are back. I could choose to like, oh my gosh, I'm on a podcast and the birds are going to be in the background. No, it's all like failure, right? It's like, oh, I hear those lovely birds out there and maybe you do or don't, but, look for the positive in things and the being thankful and the gratitude. And that'll start to also kind of whittle away at our limiting beliefs. And as we start to embodying, we've already embodied everything that we believe and everything that we choose to do or what not do. If we embody a different state, if we embody a different emotion, we can start to, what is that word? Navigate? No, what was the word? Rewrite or something? Narrate. You can start creating a new narrative about it.
And you brought up a good point where a lot of times it's so interesting because I was sitting, drinking my coffee thinking one day, I think it was last week when we were snowed in, and the thing that came to mind is like, why are we so stuck in this negative space? Like, why is everything have to be negative, right? Someone could put something positive on social media and the comment section is riddled with negative responses, right? Everything has to be criticized. Everything has to be scrutinized. And it causes us to absorb all of that, right? And so we absorb, you are what you eat, and it's not just the food. Like, what are you absorbing that is now coming out of you? Why is like somebody's, celebrating something? You're like, oh, and so it just creates this whole thing. And I think because if you don't feel like you're going to accomplish anything, right, you got to crap on everybody else's parade because God forbid someone else is doing better than you. Instead of saying that is a stepping stone that I can say, I want to be able to do that. Let me figure out how I can do that so I can be celebrating. And I think it's so interesting how the human species really have a hard time being in a positive space and staying that and tolerating that positive space. Because once somebody finds that positivity, they don't let it go. But it's really hard for a lot of people to go from a negative mindset to a positive mindset and stay there, right? They can have a moment of like, oh, that was fun. But it's hard to stay in that momentum, right? Because life issues, all the stuff comes, and it pushes down that ability to stay in that place of joy, that place of gratitude. I have clients do gratitude journals, and they're like, for the first 2 weeks, oh, this is great. And then when we get to week 3, it's like, life was crappy and I have nothing to be grateful. Well, this is when the gratitude journal is supposed to work the most, because this is when you're supposed to look for the things to be grateful. Like sometimes you got to really dig deep to find the things that you are grateful for. And sometimes you miss the boat, right? And so that's the struggle with us as humans, as people that has all these emotions, all these mindsets that really struggle to kind of stay or implement that positive mindset on a daily basis. It's a daily workout. It's a daily commitment to be that way, because life is hard. Life be lifing, and it's difficult to stay positive and cheerleading and all of that. So it takes a lot of shifting and challenging and reframing to have it be automatic, right? That automatic response, because if your automatic response is, well, that's horrible, or this was, I had a hard day, or this day was the worst day ever, just because one thing happened terribly, does it mean, like, you know what I mean? Like the whole, like, everything got to be bad because one thing happened. I'll give an example. This week, we had below freezing temperature here in the northeastern area, and well, I guess across the country, because a lot of people are struggling. But needless to say, I've never had this happen to me. I've lived in these type of weathers forever, my whole life. My car wouldn't start when I went out. Like it snowed for several days, like on and off, below freezing, and my car wouldn't start. Probably day 2, day 3 into it, I had to go run some errands, and I was like, "What is happening?" This is a pretty new car, so it should not have these issues. Call AAA, and they come. Roadside assistance, and they come. And he's like, your gas is frozen. Excuse me? What do you mean my gas is frozen? And he's like, well, the battery's working fine. Because the car, the lights, everything come on. Ding, ding, ding. The radio everything comes on. And he's like, I think your gas is frozen. I said, absolutely not. Now, I, in my mind, remembered I was supposed to go out on Monday, because snow started early on Monday, and it wasn't supposed to start till like later in the day. And I was supposed to go out, get gas, get food, the whole jazz before the snowstorm comes. And I was like, oh, it's snowing already. I got a little bit I'll be fine. Like, I don't need to rush out. I forgot about the gas. So when he told me that, I immediately was like, are you serious? When the freezing is going to stop? So I went into problem solving rather than saying, this is the worst thing ever. I cannot believe this, blah, 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 blah. So I tried to problem solve. Problem solving didn't work, right? We talked earlier about like failing. And I was failing at problem solving. And I did get into a rut, because I was like, I'm stuck in this house for over a week now. I'm having cabin fever. Someone please get me out of this.
Where's the snowshoes?
Please get me out of this. And I have 3 cars out there, and all 3 had different problems. And I was like, are you serious? Like, I think the Lord is trying to tell me I need to sit down somewhere, because obviously it wasn't meant for me to go anywhere. Long story short, I think around Saturday, when things weren't working the way I wanted it to work. So now this is from Monday to Saturday. Things weren't working the way I wanted to work. I said, you know what? I'm going to sit here, and I'm going to take this moment to do what I can in my home and do what I need to do for my business and do. Yes, this is frustrating. But in that moment, it took 5 days of me being like, I can't believe this. Oh, somebody help me. Oh, now it's snowing again, and I'm stuck, and I was just like, I got things to do. I got things to do. And I had to kind of sit myself down on Saturday and say, those things will be there whenever your car defrosts. And so like I was making plans. I was like, all right, it's supposed to get warmer this day on Monday. And so I will get my car. Hopefully the temperature's enough so I can get out. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and this is when this whole, the negative mindset kind of spoke to me. And the friend was like, well, I said, well, hopefully on Monday my car will warm up. It'll get warm enough for my car to defrost. And the friend was like, well, I hope it's not your gas injector. Sir, what we're not going to do is add more distress. Right now, it's frozen. It's frozen. That's what we're going to believe. And if it doesn't unfrost or it doesn't work on Monday, then we just tow it to the car dealership. Because if that's the case, I got insurance, the warranty. But what we're not going to do, get me stressed and worried. Like, I'm not doing that. And in that moment, I was proud of myself because I was able to set a boundary and said, you're not going to give me that negative and have me anxious and worried about something that may not even be the case. What I know for now, it doesn't run because it's frozen. And I would like to keep that belief, right? But I think those are the kind of things, right? We get influenced by people. We get influenced by urgency to do things. And it creates this whole infectious negativity, right? About what's going on, what we need to do, what we should be doing, what's going to happen, right? And it's just like you call it there's a cyclops, it's this vortex, it just sucks you all in. And you're in this space that, how did you get here? What got you to this place? And a lot of times we got to be mindful of who is in our circle, who's our support system, who is fueling us, who is feeding us, what we're allowing our ear gates to hear, what are we seeing? Because all those things affect our belief system tremendously. And it was just like an aha moment, like, okay. I'll have to put you in a timeout box because that's not cool. You're supposed to be encouraging me and getting me. Don't add more stress, right? And so really recognizing who's, it can be your mama, it can be your sister, it can be your husband, it can be anybody, it can be your coworker that's planting those seeds that is adding to that negative belief system. What do you say to that?
Yeah, completely. It's like, again, there's a saying, we are the sum of the 5 people we spend our time with. And if we're surrounded with negative people and we try to see things positively, again, those crabs will just keep pulling us back in to like, hey, you're going to keep being like us. Do you ever have like, whether it's yourself or someone else that you've seen, like maybe you have this family dynamic and then one of the children goes off to college. Something like that. And they really don't come home much, maybe like for the holidays or something, but they're really gone for 4 years, right? A lot happens in 4 years when you're not around your family, or that environment or that unit. And you're exposed to all kinds of other thoughts and other emotions and ways of looking at the world. And you're learning and all of these changes are taking place. And then that child comes back now, like, in their 20s or whatever, because they finished university, and the child comes back and, what are you acting? You're acting so different, the family says, and they're like, no, I'm just being me. It's like, no, what's your problem? And it's like, because we expect that person to return as the person that we know them as. And if they don't act and do everything the way that they used to, that we're familiar with and that we expect, because we're expecting, I say this, you say this, we're expecting this role play, this little, thing to happen. And then we make them wrong because they're not doing the role. They're not playing their part. And then all this conflict happens. And so that's where we get to see the biggest difference, like in this dynamic that we live within or that we expose ourselves in. And that child may be like, I'm done with you, family. Like you're like, you're nuts, like you're, crackers, whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to stay here for as little time as possible. And I'm going to leave because I don't want to be sucked into this, like whatever is going on here. And, so people continue to believe us, to see us as they believe us to be. And again, that limit, people will limit us. Even though we came back from university, different, grown, different perspectives. And it's like, no, like
that's what they paid you. That's what they paid for you to go back and for you to grow and mature and change, right? But they don't like the package that they're receiving back.
Yeah, it's like, you come back exactly as you were and everything will be all fine. But if not, it's like, well, who are you now? You think you got all this education. It's like, no, I've just actually broken away from this pattern that this family has. And that's a huge one. So it could be in some cultures, you've got the whole family, extended family dynamic or the community that's like having us stay a certain way. Mm-hmm. And we will stay there because, again, it's comfortable, it's familiar. We may not desire something else for ourselves, but if there's this like, there's got to be more to life than this, and we can break away, and then break away, we can now have a perspective of what was going on. It's like, my gosh, because we remove ourselves from all of that energy, all the beliefs, and all of the, the chatter that reinforces and keeps anchoring us into it. So sometimes we need to just remove ourselves, and that could be, like friendships, right? We've heard of people who have friendship for 20 years or whatever. And then all of a sudden, it's just one day, it's like they have a misunderstanding and then that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Really the misunderstanding, or someone's grown and they've learned and they evolved and they have a different perspective of themselves and the other person still sees them that way. And so sometimes we just need to say thank you to that person for being in our lives. And, I love you and care about you, but energetically, I'm severing the energy because I need something else. So it could be with a friend, the family, people at work, right? People who love to gossip, like whoever will listen to them, right? And it's like, I don't really kind of see it that way. But the more we spend time with them, the more they, again, like, oh, well, maybe we're looking for all the negative things. So it's like, remove yourself from that person. Don't hang out at the water cooler or whatever it is these days, right? Because we don't necessarily have the water cooler or photocopier, so wherever those people are that want to just pull you down and suck you into that negative thing, it's like, now I want something more for myself, and create some distance, lovingly nurture yourself, compassion for yourself, just almost like thank that person, have gratitude. Thank you for being in my life and making me aware that I used to think this about myself and other people. I no longer think that. So it's time to just say thank you and release. You asked me, I don't think I answered it. It was like about anxiety and people who are anxious. It's again, like, there's that thing in the future that we want or we're worried about, but we have these beliefs about what we can do about it or what we can't do about it. So it festers. It's like, I can't do anything, but I really want to do. And, so we're not empowered. We worry, it's we worry about it. It's all the things. It's like when we're present to what is happening now is where we have choice. And
right.
Things that are in the future, it's like, we're almost like creating the thing in the future. Again, we're anticipating that right now is going to end or create this thing in the future, or not allow something to create in the future. Then we get anxious about it. It could be about ourselves, our own future, or we could be anxious about someone else's future. Maybe someone's health. Like a parent whose health is starting to fail, and then we start. Well, the doctor said this, and what about that? And, do they have a will? Who's going to take care of them? And then all these things, right? And yeah, there are concerns, but it's like right now is where we are in this moment. And living into another moment that's in the future, or living in the past is not serving us. And so when there's this little like part, this bubble that I'm in right now. And if I want to create a future for myself of health or happiness and love, success, all that. If I'm thinking about everything else, everything from my past, all the negativity, all the things I'm worried about that have programmed me, if I've got that right here and I'm trying to create that future, I'm just going to get more of the past, because all I do is carry the past with me into the future. It just sort of like, just kind of here we go. We're going to go into the future with all of these beliefs from the past. But if we can just, sever them, heal them. And this is obviously just very simple, because we have very, very strong beliefs about ourselves. We have little beliefs about ourselves. So like when we can really get at the ones, those really strong roots of the weeds and pull them out, then we can create and see a new possibility for ourselves. Like right now is a new beginning, not from the past. Like, yeah, we got the feedback, but we're not carrying the emotion with it going forward. So there's all of these new possibilities for ourselves. And that's where the manifesting comes. We can manifest, we can say all the affirmations we want, the, law of attraction, like all those things. But if we're doing it with the beliefs that we've had, those limiting beliefs, we're going to get stopped. We're going to hit that limit. It's going to bump up and it's going to bump up. And we're going to see everything I try, nothing works. And you get more anxious and more anxious, because it's like those limiting beliefs are getting in the way. And the people that we surround ourselves are reinforcing that, anchoring us back into that belief.
hmm It's kind of like you're trying to grow a plant, and the plant, you say, "Oh, the plant's not growing in this vase or vase, because blah 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 blah," and you change it and put it in a different vase, and you see it's still not growing. It's not the vase; it's the plant, right? It's the thing that's keep moving. The saying, you take you wherever you go, and so if you're not
Mm.
willing to change your mentality and change how you are operating, and it could be small changes, right? You're not going to see it says doing the same thing is the definition of insanity, and expecting a different result. Like you are not going to get a different result if you continue to operate in that same way. And so I think it's important to look at your surroundings, look at those people, right? And really have an example of an individual that, you know, the wife was the wife was upset with the husband because they weren't doing certain things a certain way. They weren't behaving. They didn't like how they were behaving. They thought, it was a mental health issue. The person got on medication. The person changed, right? Those things that were driving them nuts changed. But the wife did not like this changed person. And so now that's the conflict, right? It's no longer the behaviors that you were doing that was annoying, that was maladaptive to our relationship. Now it's like, I don't know who this person is because they've changed how they operate. They've gone through therapy and kind of see things differently, the light bulb went off. It's like, I don't have to react that way. I don't have to respond that way, right? Because now the brain is a little bit more regulated to be able to absorb information that they weren't able to absorb before, right? And so it's like, people around you may want you to change. I think when you were using an example about the college, right? They want you to go out and do things differently because they want better for you, right? Or they want you to be, a little bit more conducive to their lifestyle. For what you're doing is bothering them, but they don't always like the result. And so the thing is, you have to really change or shift your mindset for you, not for other people. And a lot of time people do it for other people, right? Well, this is an issue for so and so, this doesn't work for that and that. And so you can always try to change for other people, but they're never going to be satisfied. You got to go back and really work on you, for you, change the narrative for you, how you want to see yourself. And like you said earlier, like every day is a new day to start new, like to start over. Like, so if yesterday didn't go well, you can start off I'm going to have a more positive mindset today. And when I realize the negative is creeping in, I'm going to bounce it back and I'm going to manifest what I want this day to look like, what I want this day to feel like and experience. And it may not, the whole day may not go that way, but then that's for you to say, I had a good time between 12 and 2. Like those 2 hours were great, right? Looking at the small bits and pieces rather than trying to look at the whole day, because the whole day is overwhelming. 16 hours of wake time, that's a lot to look at because a lot can happen in 16 hours. And a lot can be positive and a lot can be negative. It's up to you to decide, what am I going to focus on? The negative or the positive? And really manifesting, for me, it's like really manifesting how you want to feel at the end of the day. I want to feel like I've been productive. So what are the things that I need to put in place for me to feel productive? What are the things I need to get rid of or not attend to that's going to distract me from being productive? And so I think those things are really important. So before we go, we've been chit-chatting and talking, and it's been a great conversation, but I want you to leave some practical tools that my listeners can use today after they listen to this episode, that they can, it can be something small, it doesn't be anything big, but they can put into practice for themselves.
Yeah, a gratitude journal, or just be mindful of having gratitude. Like the first thing in the morning, we've all tended to, many of us have tended to, as soon as our eyes open and our brain starts to function, we grab the phone and we start scrolling. It's like, no.
Yeah.
I'm first, not the world, not who's doing what and who do I need to catch up with. It's like, I'm first. Just lay in bed and just say, thank you for the night's sleep. Thank you for this cozy bed. Thank you for the heat. You could start off with all of the real basics. I'm thankful I've got hair on my head. People are bald, which is like, I want hair on my head. All the things that maybe we take for granted. And just keep going as many as you can. If you get to 10, you start running out, find 5 more. Because it's when we start to stretch ourselves into those gratitudes, it's like, well, I don't know what I've already been thankful for the dog. I'm thankful for the food. I'm thankful for all of these sort of things outside myself. It's like, well, what can I be thankful about myself? Well, that I'm kind, that it might be a real big stretch. It's like, like really sit there and find 5 more things that you're grateful for about yourself. Because we tend to start outside ourselves. And then as we kind of run out, it's like, okay, I'm done. It's like, but the gold, the real nuggets are in here. It's like, well, I am actually glad for my partner or my family member that I'm mad at right now, but if they weren't on this planet, I'd be really upset. So I really am thankful for them, even though we might be mad, or even if we're estranged. It's like, I'm glad they're still on this planet. It could even be that. So you can start with some gratitudes, seeing the little tiny effort somebody's making in something, rather than looking for all their faults, rather than looking for your own faults, or looking like, oh, I did this again, beating ourselves up. Impeccable with your word. Just keep that talking to yourself in more positive ways. And if anyone says something to you, or you even think about the thing that someone said to you that put you down, reduced you, just say, cancel, delete, nope, erase it, and just say, I'm a wonderful person. I am thoughtful. I do accomplish a lot. Whatever the opposite is of what that thought came in, or you actually heard someone, it's almost like we're changing the narrative. Just by speaking it out there, we change the narrative. And our words are so powerful. Our thoughts are so powerful. So just change the narrative. Whatever that thought is that you had about yourself, or what you remembered somebody saying about you that maybe you adopted, just erase it and replace it. Even if you don't believe it right now, just replace it with something positive. So gratitude, positive. That's a little baby step. That's where you got that limit. You can just raise that limit just a tiny little bit, and a little more and a little more each day.
Well, thank you, Joyce, so much for joining us on our discussion today about limiting beliefs and really being able to unlock the potential that is in there. And this takes work. It's a day-to-day process, right? And so where can my listeners find you, or find anything that you're doing, any workshops you have coming up, seminars, or anything that you'd like to offer?
Probably the easiest place is my website, which is soul, SOUL, then a dash, genius.com. And if you want to get a hold of me directly, you can email me at joyce@soul-genius.com. So those are probably the most direct ways to reach me. You've got questions. Thank you. Now you have questions, or you have thoughts, and you just want to bounce them off me, or you want to work together. This is the work that I do with my clients and people, just to kind of break out of those limiting beliefs, getting on the other paths, and creating the future that you're designing for yourself, not one that someone designed for you that's going to repeat more of the past. And so, yeah, you can blossom. You can start to really grow, get beyond those weeds, however you want to look at it, and follow your heart, which is your compass, your intuition. Learn to trust. Really learn to trust that inner part of you that is guiding you, and not the narrative in your head.
Absolutely.
Staying safe, of course, but begin to learn to trust yourself and see yourself in it with new eyes and a new heart, and then you'll start seeing others with new eyes and a new heart as well. It starts from within. It really does start within. And if you're not willing to go there, then maybe there's some payoff, some benefit to staying in this negative frame of mind.
That's something to explore, maybe with a therapist or a life coach, or either to explore, because it's important to really shift some things if we want to see some results in our lives. So again, thank you so much, Joyce, for joining us here at Getting Rooted. If you want to work on your mindset, I have a workbook that is going to be out at the time of the release of this podcast. And it's called Elevate Your Mindset, a 40-day journey to wellness through positive affirmations. You'll be able to find it on my website, gettingrooted.com, or on Amazon. So make sure that you check that out. It will be a digital app. And you can also get it on Amazon digitally or hardbound. So make sure that you check that out. Also follow our podcast where all podcasts are streamed, and check out my blogs at getting-rooted.com for more information on this topic or other topics. And follow me on Facebook at gettingrooted23 and on IG at getting_rooted, R.O.O.T.E.D, as well as TikTok at Getting Rooted. So make sure that you stay connected and listen out for our next episode that will be coming out in 2 weeks. Until then, you make sure that you stay rooted, reclaiming one's own truth and embracing destiny. Have a great rest of your day and be well.
Thank you.